great doing these expeditions to all these faraway, cool locations, but there's one little problem, and that's when we get home, there's a little bit of tidying to be done. Is to make sure everything's organised into sets and sizes and colours. It doesn't matter what the system is, you just have to figure out something that works for you. When you're actually organising your gear, it's a great time to check for well, the general condition of it. Like right now I've got some really sticky quick draws. It's because we've been climbing next to the sea, and with all the salt water things have just started to get a little bit gunged up. So I'll just go grab some WD-40, little spray, little wipe, and everything's fine again. Try to organise your cams into corresponding colours and sizes, and obviously if you have any different styles or makes, it's a good time to split them up because everything's slightly different. Generally right now is the best time that you can go through everything in the cam, not just the carabiner to make sure it opens well, but also the actual workings of the cam, the springs, the lobes, etc. And if anything's a little bit tight, you can hear that one squeaking a bit. A little spray of WD-40. And no more squeaking. Obviously, WD-40 is slippy, so try to use as little as possible and make sure you wipe off any excess. There we go, good as new. So when I'm racking my friends, either to keep them stored in the house or planning for a trip, I tend to try and think what kind of rock I'm going to be climbing on and what sort of gear I'm going to need. So a typical rack for me would be a full double rack of friends. Obviously if I'm going crack climbing in the desert somewhere, that needs to be a lot more. If I'm going single pitch climbing on the grit, probably a lot less. So I try to rack them in effectively climbing sets. That way I can easily grab them off the shelf, and it just makes packing the bag and organising things a lot quicker and a lot easier. So after cams comes, well for me, nuts. And I have a pretty small but varied set of nuts and rocks, and in fact all sorts of other different weird devices like these sliders, a set of tri-cams, going down to really tiny sizes, stuff like this, amazing for tiny little mono pockets. Afterwards, it's a bit more basic. There's a full set of RPs and micro wires, in fact a double set. Then I've got my medium set. This is my kind of main go-to set of nuts. I've got all the way from super light 1 through to 6, and in double. It's important for me that I go through my rack at the end of every trip to see if I've lost something, to see if I've misplaced something, and that way I can organise getting another piece before the next trip, because there's nothing worse than finding yourself on a trip, or even worse, on a hard route without that right piece of gear. So here you can see, for example, number 1, here's a regular number 1, that's a super light number 1, all the way through to super light 6 and regular 6. You should check that none of the nuts are bent. If they are, bend them back into shape. Again, nothing worse than going to place a piece and it being the kind of all malformed and weirdness. Actually, looking through quickly here, I can see that I'm missing one. Yep, there it is. So my number 4 rock had been misplaced. It was on my big rock rack. So pop that back on. There we go, there's the big rock rack that runs from a 7 all the way through to a 12, I think. I use this a lot less than the smaller pieces. So it's, you know, sometimes I won't even take it on my harness. In fact, if I really don't think I need a lot of big pieces, instead I'll run with something like this, which is just super slimmed down, basically super light and offset rock rack. All the way from super light 1, running through into the new offset rocks, coming up to I think a size 10. With that, I have basically no weight and a full size range. Once I've organised all my nuts and friends, I'll move on to, how should we call it, all the kind of random accessory pieces. I'm talking about stuff like belay plates, nut keys, slings, jumars, all the things that you wouldn't really be placing on a route, but you still can't live without them. Just looking quickly at this, you can see that over on the left, I've got all of the belay devices, jumars. Then in the middle, I've got slings. They're arranged in different sizes. This set of slings here is kind of badly organised. It's probably Caroline that did that. I carry full set of slings with me, not necessarily on my harness. I'll normally put them around my shoulder. So the thing is, you can't have them loose in the bag or they get tangled everywhere. So tidy them up nicely on beaners, keep them in size order, and that way you'll be able to find everything when you need it. I just actually wanted to show you a couple of pieces of kit that I really like a lot. Not actually necessarily even by Wild Country. Sometimes other brands do really cool stuff that Wild Country don't. A little micro Jumar set from Kong. Actually, I lost the handle on this. Normally there's a yellow piece of plastic that goes on with it, which makes it a bit more comfortable to use, but it's still fine like that. It's barely bigger than a rope man. In fact, it's exactly that. It's a rope man with a little piece of metal on the handle, and I can just have this on the back of my harness, and if ever I need to Jumar out of any situation, it's there. It's much easier to carry around than this thing. In fact, with the kit, it's the lightest, like, full-body Jumar kit in the world. This is the chest ascender of it, and so with that and that, you can pretty much go anywhere. After that, we've got the Revo, which is Wild Country's new kind of super secure, assisted braking, auto-locking, whatever you want to call it, belay device. This thing's not been out for a while. In fact, it's not even out yet. We've got an early proto, and it is totally amazing. It's really going to revolutionize the belaying world in terms of safety. As far as I've been able to test, it's impossible to have an accident with this thing, apart from the fact of using a rope too short. And if you do that, well, really, there's nothing that's going to stop it. The Revo works on speed. When this internal wheel passes a certain revolution per second, the whole device shuts up and locks up. It's really magic. It locks in both directions. It locks even if you hold down the braking arms. It locks when the device is open, when the device is wrongly inserted. It just does everything. And there we have it. All the gear organised for the next trip. It's really not that difficult to do. Just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. There's really just one important rule to follow, and that's never let Caroline do it.